we have John Wick, the first film in this franchise, and I can easily say that it's one of the best martial arts gunplay action movies in the past 10 years. And next we have Chapter 2. While the film was entertaining, in my opinion, it was a step down from its predecessor. But now we have John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. How did it turn out? Let's get into it. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to my opinion/review for John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. I really do appreciate it. So this film right here, I was really looking forward to it. As you know, I found Chapter 1, the first John Wick, to be better than its sequel, John Wick Chapter 2. And of course, at the end of this review, I'm going to rank all three films and let you know which ones I like more than the other ones. This film, John Wick Chapter 3, it was in my most anticipated films of 2019. Of course, I checked out the trailers. I reacted to at least one of them. But right after that, I didn't pay attention to the marketing material, especially with Halle Berry. I was already convinced. I knew I wanted to see the film and I wanted to go into it with fresh eyes, or as fresh as possible. Now, this is being directed by Mr. Chad Stahelski. If you look at his filmography, he is like a super duper stunt choreographer, stunt guy, stunt director. He's done it all. He has like over 50 credits of stunts that he's been involved with in films. And he directed the first film, the John Wick Chapter 2 and John Wick Chapter 3. And I will go ahead and say, guys, that he did a phenomenal job. I love this film from beginning to end. It's not perfect, and we're going to talk about that, but for the most part, guys, I love this film, and I am willing to go back and pay for it because I loved it so much. But why did I love it? Well, it was balls to the wall action. Now, this term and phrase that I'm about to say may be getting thrown around a lot, but seriously, I personally did get me on a subjective point of view. I got everything that I wanted to see, plus more. I mean, it was so much action in this movie that it was kind of like too much action to where it could be kind of exhausting. And the last time I felt that way was Man of Steel. I love that film, that comic book film. I was satisfied when Superman, Henry Cavill, was fighting the Kryptonians over in Smallville, and then they came over to Metropolis, and then all of that. And by the time he was fighting the main guy at the end, I was like, okay, my goodness gracious, this is just too much. I still loved it. It wasn't as exhausting as Man of Steel, but it was a little bit exhausting. But one of the things that I do like about this film, just off top, is, you know, John Wick himself, played by Keanu Reeves. He is perfect in this role. Some people say he was perfect for the Neo character in The Matrix. I think he's even better with John Wick. I mean, he was born to play this role. It fits him very well. Some people hate on his acting skills and acting chops. And to me, you know, he's a humble guy if you know him personally. And I would eat up John Wick all day. I'm talking about the films, not literally as far as consuming them, because I did love this film so much. And what's great about it is you don't necessarily have to see John Wick Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 to understand this film. You will understand and appreciate all the nuances and callbacks even more, but you can go into this film not knowing anything about the first two films and easily get an idea of the synopsis of the story, of the plot, and just how the world and the universe of John Wick works very easily without any prior knowledge. And another great thing is, if you've seen Part 2, you know at the very end of Part 2, John Wick broke the rules, and you know he's going excommunicado, and Mr. Ian McShane, the ruler, the leader over the Continental Hotel, where you can't kill other hitmen and hit women and things like that, he gives John Wick 1 hour to, you know, get all of his affairs together, and then, you know, the bounty is out where everybody can go after John Wick at the very beginning of this film for around $14 million. And it doesn't take too long to get to the action. It just takes just like a few minutes, but that's not even a long time there. I mean, as soon as the film starts, as soon as the credits start rolling, you're already into the film. I mean, it's just a great pacing. It's shot well. The cinematography is great. The sound mixing, everything. You are thrown back into this world, and you're just kind of sitting there just like, man, I'm just so excited, and we haven't even thrown the first punch yet. But then when they do throw the first punch, I mean, oh my goodness gracious, it was just unbelievable. And I like the way Mr. Chad Stahelski used the environment to make this film punch that much harder and just make it more vibrant and pop out at the screen. Just some of the scenery that he used to come up with some of these fight scenes, like just a narrow hallway or a narrow corridor or bookshelves that are like this thin, having two people fight in that area and trying to maneuver around and not waste any motion and just get on top of the other person without dying. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, you can probably say like, oh my gosh, you know, there's been a ton of fighting movies, a ton of martial arts choreography and things like that. But seriously, with this film right here, I did see some things that I never did get to see before. And that just also goes with the weapons. I mean, you have all types of weapons. You have knives in this. You have daggers. You have swords. You have pistols. You have shotguns. You have automatic, semi-automatic like machine guns and all that. I mean, they also fought with books in this film. John Wick whooped somebody's ass with a book. A book. And I'm not just saying like he took a book and just started hitting people aside the face like here. Some of the kills that he used with the book, I'm like, damn, I didn't even know you can kill somebody with a book that way. And that's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it was just great. The film is also hilarious. Not hilarious as a meaning like they're just going around cracking jokes and things like that, because one thing I cannot stand, and the MCU has done this too, I don't like jokes during serious moments where everybody's lives is at stake when it's the end of the world. Of course, the end of the world is not happening in John Wick Chapter 3, but I don't like jokes when people are trying to kill each other or, you know, defeat the other person. But it's funny and hilarious, just these natural funny moments of how John Wick uses creative ways to kill people, and just characters around, just how they react to the certain situation that they're thrown in. It's funny as hell. It's funny as hell seeing their reactions and their mannerism. It's funny as hell sometimes seeing the way John Wick and other characters kill other characters in this movie. And I just ate it all up, guys. I mean, it was just like freaking fantastic. And also, I was talking about how you didn't necessarily need to see the first two films. And actually, before I said that, this is John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. Now, Parabellum, what that means is I tried to Google it, and one definition says it's a proprietary name for a type of automatic firearm or a semi-automatic pistol or machine gun. But also I have a definition for parabellum that means the title parabellum comes from the Latin phrase si vis pacem parabellum, which means if you want peace, prepare for war. It is also the alternate name for a ubiquitous 9mm handgun cartridge, 9mm parabellum. I think I'm gonna go with the latter definition there because it applies to the film more. And I think Ian McShane drops that line. One of the other things that I like about this movie, just kind of how meta it is on pop culture and how there is a line of dialogue that ties back into the Matrix. You guys probably already know what it is because I believe it was in the trailer. But that is just something that I noticed right there, just to bring the inner geek and nerdum like out of me. But the next thing that I really did love about this film is just the world of assassins and how this universe of assassins is played out. You know that the high table is, well, you may not know, but the high table is the top dog and they're running things, but there may or may not be somebody above them. And you still get to see all of that and all the inner workings and people that were like at the very top of the food chain in chapter 1 and chapter 2, you may see that they're not at the top of the food chain in chapter 3, and they have rules and a code that they have to live by as well. And then if you don't live by those rules, then it's going to come and bite you in the end. Another thing I liked about this room, the whole thing is just based off of like rules and consequences and rules. You follow the rules, everything works out. If you don't follow the rules, there will be consequences. And everybody has a code, like they're loyal to a code, like, and it's you can really respect that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a code that they live by. Some are more extreme than others, but they really do paint that picture very well in this film. And that's just like another thing that makes it great. And then about me, I feel like I was jumping around, but about me talking about how you don't necessarily have to see this film. You don't. At the very beginning of this film, it started out with just action. I was like, man, this movie is 2 hours. And it really could be just 2 hours of just all action and no story or character development at all, because you got all the story in the first two films. And it's kind of like the first film was the first act. The second film was the second act. And this third film, Parabellum Chapter 3, is a third act where it's just the climax and you get action balls to walls, and you do get a lot of action. But a nice bonus is it's not just action. You do get more story. You do get more development. You do get a sense of how, if you're paying attention, they don't just shove it down your face, but if you're paying attention, you kind of see kind of where John Wick is coming from, where he was trained, where he was bred, how he knows how to shoot so well and do jujitsu and judo and all these martial arts moves and flip people over. You do get a nice glimpse of that, and that just, develops his character even more, than the first chapter 1 and chapter 2. This is another thing that makes it great. The choreography is great. At the end of the film, the whole film is a third act in itself, but the third act in this third act film, I was just saying to myself, when they reveal who John Wick had to face to get the job done, I was just kind of saying to myself, saying how he was just mowing through fools in the first two films, it seems like he would be able to get through this particular threat very easy. I don't really see a challenge for him. I was wrong. As soon as it starts, I was like, oh, damn. It's not what I thought it was, and he is going to have a very difficult time getting out of this. And that's just another thing I like it is about this movie is everything is not easy for him. You know what I'm saying? I love martial arts films, and one of my favorite martial arts actors or martial arts periods is Jackie Chan. And one thing that I like about his movies is Jackie Chan does not always win in his movies. Sometimes he gets whooped and beat up. John Wick gets whooped and beat up in this film too, a little bit here and there. And I like that. It just gives it more realism. You know what I'm saying? It just makes it more realistic. And that's just another great thing that I liked about it and gave this film stakes. And just on a basic directing level, Chad Stahelski, he knows how to choreograph a film, because just some of the things that he was doing with the camera, it wasn't all these jump cuts and jump edits and things like that to try to hide the fact that the choreography sucks. No, he just set the camera there and didn't move it, just maybe a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. And the scene would not break for 30 to 60 seconds. And it's just nothing but punch action, just boom, 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 going here, blocking here, doing this, doing that. And I'm just like, wow, you know what I'm saying? And then after 60 seconds, it would switch over to another angle. Boom, 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 boom. And you get to see all this choreography and things like that. And I loved it. But guys, those are all the things I liked about the film. Let's talk about the things that I did not like in the film. They're just a few nitpicks though. The first one is Halle Berry. Now you may be like, oh, Halle Berry, what? You know, like Halle Berry. The action that Halle Berry was able to put through in this film was freaking fantastic. I loved it. She was a strong, fierce character. She had when the action was going down, I believed her motivation for being so upset and her wanting to help John Wick. However, and her with the dogs and all that was cool too. However, when we got introduced to her character and she was monologuing, trying to give us exposition on her backstory and why she feels the way she is and why she operates this way, etc., I was not feeling it. It just seemed kind of dry to me. It felt like she was just kind of overacting, and I just was not convinced. But that's just the introduction to her character. But right after that, when doing all the action and things like that, it was freaking fantastic. She did her thing. I don't want to run into her in the streets, you know what I'm saying? And she whoop on me or shoot me or get these dogs to bite my balls off. Like they was biting balls off in this film. No. So the action with Halle Berry was great, but when we got an introduction to her character, you know, I just really wasn't feeling that much. Next thing that I really just did not care for, and these two things right here kind of tie in to each other, is the amount of action. Like I said, it was just too much. And while I did enjoy John Wick getting beat up, I do feel that he met his match. Now, what I mean by that is, I kind of felt that John Wick should have died. Whether he does or not, you'll just have to see the film. But there was just so much thrown at him at the end. I was like, bro, how do you have any energy left? How do you have any fighting experience left? You kicked a lot of ass in this movie, but, you know, you getting kind of, you know, done in right now. I don't understand how you have just so much energy left. You know what I'm saying? That part was not just realistic to me. Now, let's just go ahead and say that there was 5,000 kills in this movie. The whole movie, 5,000 kills. There was maybe 4 or 5 of them when I was like, choreography kind of slipped up there. It wasn't as polished as it needed to be. You know, you kind of got a freebie right there. But I'm just throwing a number out there. Was it 5,000 kills? I don't know. I didn't count, but I'm just, I'm trying to give you a nice ratio. If it was 5,000 kills, maybe 4 or 5 of them, the choreography wasn't the best, but all those 4,995 was just like freaking badass. I mean, people was in the audience like rooting and screaming. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're watching this and you went to go see Avengers Endgame, opening night, you know how the crowd could be when certain characters do this and people are yeah, cheering like that. People were cheering in this film, a press screening, more than there was cheering in Avengers Endgame. So I'm not trying to crap on it right there. But yeah, that's it. Just the Halle Berry thing, guys, with the action. I thought it was just a little bit too much, and the choreography was just off and about maybe like 4 or 5 kills. But other than that, guys, it was freaking fantastic. I don't remember what I rated the first 2 John Wick films, but I would say that I like John Wick Chapter 2 the least. And Chapter 1 and Chapter 3, I have to see again, right? I love them both. They're both fantastic, but they're right even with me. I may give it to Part 3, but at the same time, the story may have been a little bit better in Part 1. Not saying that it's bad in Part 3. It's just that, there wasn't that much more story in Part 3 because you already got it in the first 2 films. So it's not like you have to just, shoehorn more in just for the hell of it. I mean, these are called Chapter 1, 2, and 3 for a reason. They're kind of all tied together, but if I had to rewatch one, I would probably do 3 over. I mean, but 3 and 1 are right even. I freaking loved them. But if I had to rate John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum out of a 1 out of 10, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Yes, a 9 out of 10. But guys, that is just my opinion. What did you think about John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum? Or have you seen it yet, or do you want to see it? Have I turned you on? Have I turned you off? Do you agree with me or do you disagree? Let me know down in the comment section below. Let's get this conversation going and keep it flowing. If you like this video, go ahead and give me that thumbs up. And if you don't, that's fine. But you can still subscribe to my channel. You can also look me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All that good stuff. It's right there at the bottom of your screen, and I made it very easy by providing a link to all that down in the description box below. But guys, I just want to thank you again for tuning in to my opinion/review/reaction for John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum starring Keanu Reeves. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.